Therefore, you don't need me to fix it. Well, then, boring. So if it's not yet broken, I'll break it. And then I'll fix it. Because that's what men do. Fix things. When the Rebbe came along and said, no, you're Jewish by virtue of something that doesn't need fixing. So a big part of the Jewish community said, what, that's good news? So what? What about your Yetzer Hara? What about fighting your evil and not sinning? So over the years, the feminine side, which is celebrating what is already good rather than celebrating a victory over evil, is catching up. Even among non-Chassidim. The godly soul, the Pinteliyid, the essence and the core of Jewishness that you don't need to acquire or to fix. Yeah, but what's so exciting about that? So the Baal Shem Tov, who created this revolution, didn't actually say it in that many. He didn't come out and say, let's become feminine. Although that would have been very popular. He would have had many more chassidim. Oh, maybe only today. But he didn't come out and say, let's be feminine. He said, love every Jew without exception. Now, do you hear? Do you hear it? What do you mean, love every Jew? Not every Jew is good. Not every Jew has overcome his Yetzer Hara. What about Jews who sin? What are you loving? Now, if you love a guy who has fought the battle and has become a tzaddik and a Talmud Chacham, and he no longer has a Yetzer Hara, which is almost impossible, that's something to respect and love. But to love every Jew, look at them. So how is it possible to love every Jew? It's a purely feminine thing. If you can celebrate what is already good, you can love every Jew. If you're still fighting battles, you don't hear it. You don't get it.
When you say it's feminine, would we assume that it's like easier for us women to love it,
Yes.
every year?
Let me give you an example of the difference between men and women. A man and a woman get married. And they meet their friends. He meets his friends, she meets her friends. Every man is going to say, hey, did you hear? I got married. And the woman will say, did you hear? I'm married. You see the difference? He says, I got married. She says, I am married. She is thrilled by what is. He is thrilled by what he accomplished. A guy builds a house. And he's done. He built it, finished. The wife says, this is great. He says, yeah, but maybe we should build another wing. Maybe this door should be a little bigger. She says, settle down. It's a good house. I like it. We live here. Yeah, but it's like an anticlimax. Now what? Oh, now we'll live here. So when you tell people Mashiach is going to come, and there's going to be no Yetzer Hara, and there's going to be no struggle, and men looking at, is that good news? What are we going to do? Why would we wake up in the morning? Forever? Okay, for a weekend. But forever? That's boring.
But the Gemara, the other day my husband was saying that the Gemara, I don't know exactly what the quote is, that says that an old man around the house, like an old woman around the house is like a treasure, and an old man around the house is like Send away.
finish that sentence.
Because we were talking about, like, if it's really about Mashiach and about, what exactly like that, what is he gonna do, So Satan learned, right? But then the Gemara comes and say, like, he's gonna be in the way. I don't know. It's just strange.
No end to the abuse. So the
She brought it
difference.
up, by the way.
So the difference is that the masculine instinct is to overcome, to achieve, to accomplish, to change, to fix. We don't have a great capacity for enjoying and celebrating what is good. So if you tell me I have a Yetzer Hara and I have to fight it, that sounds like a job for the Boy Scouts. But if you tell me, no, your godly soul is godly, you're as Jewish as you can be, you can't be any more Jewish, you're as Jewish as Moshe Rabbeinu. So the ability to be inspired by what is already good, that's a feminine quality. And that's what Hasidus introduced. It's not that you have to become a Jew. You have a godly soul, it's a piece of God from above. You're a chelik elokah mimal. Is that not exciting? Why? Because it doesn't need you to fix it?
If this, and after Adal Rebbe was more like the feminine time, and before that was more a masculine time, then what was the place for, how did women relate to Yiddishkeit in that time, and how do men relate to Yiddishkeit during this time? Because men do like that struggle, men do need to feel that accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it for women like then? The time of Yiddishkeit was more focused on that.
Yeah.
We're
So
doing.
the emphasis for women was motherhood and supporting the husband's efforts, like waiting for your husband to come back from davening.
What was Yiddishkeit? Like that was their Yiddishkeit?
Yeah. Teaching your children, mothering, in Yiddishkeit, of course, and supporting your husband's efforts at learning, davening, whatever. So it was a secondary role, a supporting role.
Are we saying now that since we reveal the more feminine aspect of Yiddishkeit now, are we saying that, like, obviously for us women we can relate to it more, but for a man, is that what they also mean now?
Are we supposed to inspire men to do it, or could they do it by themselves? Meaning, that's, I guess, what you're saying, that Hasidus brings all this feminine, energy. I guess that a man could actually tap into that by himself, or is it like talking about like the role of a woman now? Like, is it our role to say, like, there's Hasidus, feel
Not
inspired,
necessarily. You don't have to become a preacher. But because the emphasis now is on the feminine, you should be stronger in yourself.
What do you mean stronger in which way? Like emuna, more.
Just be more yourself. We have a famous story about Rabbi Yosef Balagol, Chassid of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe told him he was a big scholar, and the Alter Rebbe told him to become a wagon driver. Remember the famous story? So the story is that he agonized. He was horrified. He was miserable for months. How does he do that? How do you become a wagon driver when you're a scholar? And when is he going to learn? What's going to be with his schedule? What's going to be? So he went and he asked the wagon drivers how to teach him how to. And it was horrible because he didn't know what he was doing. He almost killed himself. And he was so discouraged, and he came home and he finally decided to pour his heart out to his wife. And it's a big part of the story. He poured his heart out to his wife, and the dilemma, the anguish, and his wife said, the Rebbe says, be a balagol, you become a balagol. What is wrong with you? And that made him feel even worse. Because how come she can see so clearly and he has to struggle through this? So it humbled him even more. Why are we told this story? Because this is a Chassidish story. So it's not that he became a woman. She was so comfortable in her no nonsense position. You're a chassid, you do what you're told. What's the struggle? Where's the struggle? That's the difference. So men have to acquire that talent. And certainly women shouldn't be giving it up or compromising.
But you think that men should actually become more feminine? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That like will make a whole imbalance. Like why should men be encouraged to be more feminine? Shouldn't they?
Well, look, there was an imbalance in the other way.
Past 50
The
years.
world, the world was very masculine. Thousands of years. Before Mashiach, we have to get comfortable. We have to develop the ability to be inspired by what is already good. Because when Mashiach comes, everything's going to be good.
Then they should take on the feminine traits, not become more feminine.
Right.
Listen more, better, all that.
Yeah, the mashpia and the Kabul dynamic is not going to change.
Right.
You talked about in the beginning how, the roles of masculine, feminine, and male and female have been kind of confusing, with what's going on, let's say. But now you're saying that the world is seeking to rebalance that again. But I still feel that there has been like an imprint that's been, put on society and culture about the role reversal and like how women are put in a position maybe where they have to become more masculine in order to, achieve certain things in this world. And men too. I mean, men may also be put in a position where they become more feminine, let's say. So that being said, I feel like it's a little bit confusing when we talk about these roles of men and women, especially with your prior statement before when we were discussing that, it's a man's inclination to want to fix things and things like that because, I keep thinking about Parsha Gracious and certain things that were discussed about the role of a woman. And two of those things stand out for me, and I just find that very confusing, and maybe you can elaborate more on it. But one of them is that she should be a helpmate against him. That's the translation, if I'm correct. And then another one is that she should long for her husband. So those two things, I feel like they're more more of a masculine role. I don't know why, but like for example, like I've tried to understand like what does it mean to long for your husband, and I guess what I came up with was more like, you want your husband to achieve certain things, and you want him to do certain things, and like you're longing for him to do those things. Like you say like a woman always wants to fix things, like she wants to make her husband, you can't change him. They say you can't try to change him. Is the longing like you long for him to be who he really can become, and as far as the helpmate against him, is that also a need to fix things? Like I'm a little confused about that. I think it's hard to understand.
Yes, it sounds confusing. You're longing for him to get a job. You're longing for him to grow up and be... No. No, that's your children. You're longing for your children to grow up. Longing for a husband means you long for him, to have him. Not to see him succeed.
But to have him in his, like, to have him, because to have him with all his shortcomings, let's say, or just have him with no shortcomings, to look past those shortcomings, and I'm trying to,
Despite the shortcomings.
despite the shortcomings.
Because he is important, not how much he makes. And that again is a feminine thing.
It's a feminine thing, but it's very difficult.
So for a person to say, I just want you,
Right.
not your accomplishments, not your achievements, not your successes, just you. And you don't need to be improved. That's feminine. So let's go into another story from Bereshit. What exactly happened when they ate from the tree?
When what?
When they ate from the tree. And whose fault was it? Huh? Whose fault was it that they ate from the tree?
It was no one's fault.
Who's getting blamed for it? Come on. Chava's getting blamed for it. Right?
Every woman afterwards.
Yes. Yes. She ruined the world. Single-handedly. Destroyed everything. Which is such a nice story to start to tell you about. God said, it is not good that man is alone. I will make him a helpmate. And she killed him. God's plan didn't quite work out. Right? God said, no, he's no good alone. He needs his wife. And the first thing his wife did was kill him. Poisoned him with an apple. Whose failure is this? Sounds like God's failure. You got to understand the story a little deeper. They were perfect tzaddikim. How did they sin like that? It doesn't make any sense, and you should not be able to accept it. Particularly since they did not have a Yetzer Hara before they ate from the tree. And to say, well, the snake tricked her. The snake was the most shrewd animal, not smarter than a human being. So how does the snake trick her? She's human. That doesn't make any sense. The whole story doesn't make any sense. And it needs commentary. The true version of the story, the deeper version, is that Chava heard what Adam did not. What did she hear? What did God say about the tree? Of all the trees in the garden you may eat, but of this tree of knowledge, Eitz Hadas, Tov Ra, good and evil, you must not eat. For the day you eat from it, you will die. So Adam said, whoa, stay away from that tree. Chava said, you're not listening. You're not hearing. They were put into the Garden of Eden to fix it. La'avda u'l'shamra. They looked around and there was nothing to fix. All the trees were kosher except for one, and that one they're not allowed to eat. So what are we doing here? What's our job? And also, what is this, the day you eat from it, you'll die? I thought I wasn't supposed to eat from it. What kind of mixed message is this? Don't eat from that tree. That should be the end of the sentence. But no, the day you eat from it, you'll die. Oh, so there's a day that I... Very confusing. So Chava said, we have to eat from the tree. And Adam said, what are you talking about? God said, don't. So Chava said, God said two things. Don't eat from the tree and live, or eat from the tree and die. He wants us to choose. And they certainly weren't afraid of dying. It wasn't a threat. They were 3 hours old. So Chava said, it's a choice, not a mixed message. So Adam said, okay, then let's choose not to eat from it. And Chava said, you don't hear. And Adam said, what? What don't I hear? Chava said, the day you eat from it, you'll die. Don't you realize? Don't you hear what the Eibishter is saying? We are not in the world that needs fixing. That's why we have no job here. The Eibishter said we should go down to the lowest world and fix it. This is not the lowest world. There's a lower world in which you die. That's where our job is. So not only is God giving us a choice, He wants us to eat from the tree and go down to the lower world where you die. So Adam was convinced. You're right. So they ate. Then God comes and says to Adam, you ate from the tree I told you not to eat from? And Adam, being a tzaddik and an innocent soul, said, wasn't my idea. She understood. I guess that's why you gave her to me, knowing that by myself I would never get it. So was God's plan working? The story proves the theory. It's not good that man should be alone. He needs a woman. Exactly. The next story demonstrates it. So then God said, okay, now that you made the right choice, let me describe for you what it's like in that lower world. You'll have to work hard to make a living. Weeds will grow when you're trying to raise crops. So by the sweat of your brow, you will eat bread, which means to fix this world is not going to be easy. That's a masculine job. The feminine job is you will yearn for your husband, which means you are who you are. You're just missing a husband. So you will yearn for your husband can only apply to a woman. They both committed the same sin, if it was a sin. They should therefore both be given the same punishment, if it's a punishment. So why didn't God say, okay, now you're going to suffer. You are going to yearn for your husband, and you are going to yearn for your wife. Why not? Well, first of all, if he yearned for a wife and she yearned for a husband, they would have a perfect marriage. What kind of curse is that? It's not a punishment, that's a blessing. But it wasn't punishment and it wasn't blessing. It was a description of nature outside the Garden of Eden. The nature of a woman is that she is content with what is good, but she yearns for her husband who's busy fixing the world. And you can't say that the man by nature is going to yearn for his wife. By nature, he does not yearn for a wife. He yearns for a problem to fix. Hopefully that's not his wife.
The women are always trying to fix their husband.
There's a feminine way and there's a masculine way. The power of yearning is much more powerful than fixing. When you yearn for somebody, the effect you have on that person is irresistible. So the Medrash puts it very interestingly. It almost sounds like a joke, but it's the Medrash. The Medrash says, God cursed women that they will yearn for their husbands, which sounds like they're going to be desperate and they're going to run around looking for a husband.
That's what it says.
But God's curses are always blessings. So what actually happened is when men heard that women yearn for a husband, every man runs around desperate to find a wife. Sounds like a joke? But really it's not. The yearning has such a powerful effect on men because they find that irresistible. So by being more of a woman, you have a more powerful effect. But I mean, if you just think about it for a second. There was in the 60s when women were fighting for equality and liberation and so on. In the 60s, they had a slogan, or they had a statement. Biology is not destiny. So just because you're biologically a mother, that's not your destiny. You don't have to be that. Now, looking back at it, what a ridiculous statement. Biology is not destiny? Have you heard of the theory of evolution? Of course biology is destiny. How do you dismiss your biology and still be sane? Then there was another slogan. Women are not baby-making machines. What a nasty statement. Was that a compliment to women? Was it? Is it? There's more to women than making babies. What? Well, masculine things. Thank you very much. This is women's liberation. There's more to being a woman than being a woman. You can be a man. This is a compliment. It is so disrespectful.
Still going on.
It goes on. A woman can produce a child. How do you dismiss that and ridicule that and say, no, don't take that seriously?
Well, I have a question because I had a conversation like that with a friend, and we were arguing, and that person said that then if we take it like that we're biologically designed, let's say, to have kids, then a mother who doesn't give birth to his son or her son or her daughter is not really a mother, meaning stepfather or stepmother is really not a mother because it's not biologically a mother. So I didn't know how to respond to that. I said they are, but
I mean, imagine somebody saying to a Jew,